Orky, you threw something at us this morning that left me thinking. And I don't know that I 100% have an answer. But of all people, a quote from Joey Gallo got me thinking. You got the quote for us?
I do. So despite the the labor dispute going on with Major League Baseball and its players, which seemingly is not going to get done in time, there's still actual baseball things to discuss, and Joey Gallo was asked about ways to improve the game recently, and he's a proponent of banning the shift. Here's what he said. I think at some point you have to fix the game a little bit. I don't understand how I'm supposed to hit a double or a triple when I have 6 guys standing in the outfield.
So this falls into the, are you a baseball purist? Are you a win by analytics? Do you believe in taking every advantage to win based on the rules that are available to you? It falls into that conversation. And there are people that are baseball purists that say, no, you don't alter the rules of the game just because you got people shifting. You want somebody out of the shift, bunt them out of the shift. Well, bunt singles don't scare anybody. And people that rely on analytics and play the shift will live with bunt singles all day long because what they're trying to do is take away extra base hits and home runs from power hitters, but specifically extra base hits. So this is the part I've been thinking about. Borky, you made the point when we were talking this morning. Football has rules. There's a minimum number of men you must have on the line of scrimmage. The defense can't be across the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball, and vice versa. There are things that receivers are allowed to do and are not allowed to do. Defenders are allowed to do and are not allowed to do. There are rules that govern the flow of the game. In basketball, particularly in the NBA, you can't play zone defense, right? Or have they eliminated that rule?
You can play zone. You just can't pack a big under the basket. So there's defensive 3 seconds.
There's a defensive 3 second. You can't play a 2-3 where you camp your 7-footer out in the middle of the lane to protect the area. So in the same way that there's an offensive 3 second call in college basketball and every level of basketball, the NBA's got it in both directions. And it's to make the game better. So baseball purist says, no. You can't make rules that say this is where you have to put your players. If you want to put 8 players, 7 players in right field and have a pitcher and a catcher, then you can do that. And it's the other team's job to take advantage or to get you out of that defensive alignment. But baseball also loves to talk about unwritten rules, right? Well, the spirit of the rule was this. Well, forgive me, but the people that founded baseball, Abner Doubleday and the crew, when they made 9 position players, 9 positions on the field, they drew it up with a left fielder, a center fielder, and a right fielder, a third baseman, a shortstop, a second baseman, a first baseman, a catcher, and a pitcher. And I don't know that they thought about the unintended consequences of 130 years later, where mathematicians were going to be running algorithms to decide what defensive alignment was most advantageous in taking away doubles. I think they thought, hey, this is a good defensive alignment. It gives the offense an opportunity, but it gives the defense an opportunity as well. So what would be so wrong with modifying the rules to say, clearly the game of baseball has evolved, and really smart people have come up with ways to circumvent the spirit of the rules of the game to their advantage. And while we don't begrudge those people that have found an advantage, we would like the game to be played in the spirit in which it was intended. It was a healthier game when we played straight up. It's a more fun game to watch. And so, in terms of defensive alignment, you must have 3 outfielders in the outfield. You must have 2 infielders on the right side of the second base bag, and you must have 2 infielders on the left side of the second base bag. You must have a pitcher and a catcher. Would that really be... Would that be a scourge upon the game? If we altered the rules and said, yeah, the shift is... That's not what was intended here. And we know that there are advances. We understand that people have said this is a better way to win. But we want the game to be played the way it was designed to be played. And so, this is the framework through which you have to work. Because my initial reaction when I read this was, Joey Gallo, it's on you, man. You want to hit a double or a triple and you got 6 outfielders? Figure out how to go the opposite way. But I kind of see it the other way also.
Well, what I would say is the game wasn't designed to be 1 through 9. It's strikeout or home run. There was a time when advancing runners and station to station meant something. And there is a time where pitchers hit. If we're going to talk about the spirit of the game, the pitcher hitting is part of it. He's supposed to be a baseball player. So, I feel like we're being picky and choosing here. We're going to play for the spirit of the game. Let's play for the spirit of the game.
Well, but to your point, we have picked and chosen along the way and have made rules that we thought would enhance the game, like allowing for a designated hitter and hitting more home runs. So this would just be picking and choosing again and say, we're going to assign some defensive positions that you have to fill loosely.
At some point, it's not baseball anymore.
Wouldn't the argument be made that it's not baseball anymore with the dramatic shifts that we're seeing where you've got...
I don't have an issue with the shift. I don't know what it is. I just don't have an issue with it. It feels like it's just smart. If a hitter isn't good enough to hit it the other way, punish him.
Our text line is filled with people that agree with, hey, Dad, don't change it. Don't change it. Why would you change it? It's not
we're
baseball.
A bunch of old men out there. But at the same time, it's like, if a hitter can't hit the curveball, they don't change the rule like, you can only throw that guy fastballs. Either adapt or die.
So here's your text line. David in Indianola says, is who still on first? My opinion, worst opinion you've ever had, Richard.
Oof,
I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not saying that this is 100% what I believe. I'm just thinking. Tom says folks need to learn to hit the opposite way. Baseball is the only sport that each team gets equal opportunity. Each team gets the same number of outs, equal number of at-bats, and each team has to take advantage. Bradley in Marietta says it's not 4-year-old T-ball. Okay, guys, let's get it in the circle. Don't cross the line. Dizzy Dean said hit it where they ain't.
There's a reason they're considering this, though. And we're up against a hard break, but there's a reason they're considering.
The idea of banning the shift?
And something needs to get pushed back on here, because the prevailing thought on our text line is, just hit it the opposite way. Don't you think they've thought of that?
There was a good quote from Freddie Freeman about that. He said, when you take into account everything I'm trying to compute at the plate, and I'm not giving you the exact quote. If Borky wants to try to find it, he can. But basically, he's like, it's a big ask. It's a big ask to sit there and say, to change my approach that much every time.
Yeah, just hit it the opposite way, you say, as they're throwing 97-mile-an-hour sliders on the inside black. Tell me how you're going to slap that one out the opposite way. The pitchers pitch to your tendencies. They don't want you just to slap it the opposite way if they've got a shift on you. They're going to throw you inside, and they're going to throw a pitch so fast that the last third of the distance it travels, the ball is invisible because it's moving so fast. So that concept of just hit it the opposite way is something you can do in middle school. That's what you teach your 14-year-old. Hey, go with the pitch. If it's outside, slap it into left field for a lefty. When it's 98, moving 8 inches, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, the whole idea when you talk to a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old about going the opposite way is not pulling a pitch or not attempting to pull a pitch that's on the outside part of the plate, because that's when you roll over it and you hit a weak ground ball. The idea with going the opposite way is to take a pitch, hit the pitch where it was pitched. You get a pitch on the outside part of the plate, you go with the pitch and extend through it and drive it the opposite way. You get a pitch on the inside part of the plate, well, you're not trying to hit that one the opposite way, because then you're talking about a broken bat. You're talking about trying to turn on that or drive it up the middle. And look, I mean, bat speed and strength and length of bat have taken a lot of that away. I mean, you've got unbelievably strong guys who can take a pitch that's 3 inches off the outside corner and deposit it 400 feet over the right field wall if they're a left-handed hitter. But even in today's game of pull, hit home runs or strike out, wouldn't you still say that the best hitters in the game have the ability to hit it to all fields? Shohei Ohtani, one of the best hitters in the game. He's not a dead pull hitter. Look at his spray chart. He hits home runs to straightaway center field. He goes the opposite way. He pulls balls. Happens all the time. You got a lot of guys that can do that. But the whole, there's a shift, hit it the opposite way, that's not always the most intelligent argument. It's an easy argument, but it's not one that always works. Again, this is not a hill that I'm dying on where I'm saying, no, absolutely you got to do that. It's just a fascinating comment from a Major League Baseball player.
And so easier said than done is the first thing. Because, again, they pitch to it. Second thing, though, the reason this is being considered is because of what's happening in the game. Because they can't just slap it opposite way. And what they're learning now, and you can agree or disagree with this, say never change the game, doesn't matter. The problem in baseball is games are long, games are boring, and nothing happens in them. Because there are shifts. And a guy that would have hit, you know, a nice single in between the first and second base bag, there's 4 guys there. So it gets cut off and he gets thrown out. You have fewer base runners than you've ever had. You have fewer base hits. You have more strikeouts, and guys are still hitting home runs. The audience for Major League Baseball skews older and older, and it's shrinking. They're talking about this because they want to find ways to make the game more exciting. What makes a baseball game more exciting? More hits, more runners on base.
Actually playing it and not arguing about money?
That also would help Major League Baseball tremendously, is actually, playing Major League Baseball. But that is where the genesis of this kind of argument comes from. Same thing with the universal DH. Because why am I going to spend $40 on a ticket and $15 on a beer to watch a pitcher stand with his heels on the edge of the batter's box and watch 3 pitches go by and walk back into the dugout because he has no interest in hitting? That's 5 minutes of game time wasted on nothing because the pitchers don't want to hit. They want universal DH because they want more guys that can create more action. That's the root of this here. That's the root of the shift. That's the root of universal DH. It's because there's too much inaction in baseball today because analytics have taken over and analytics have made the game quite boring for the young observer. And there's fewer and fewer young observer in baseball today.
Are there any players, we hear from Joey Gallo there, right? Are there any players coming out on the opposite side of this and saying, hey, I like the shift, and I like the strategy element of it, and I like the idea that if you can't hit it there, we're going to beat